And then for the last 10 years, up until 2001, I was working in Fleet Street.
Fleet Street, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just after 9/11, and the story moved from the rubble of the Twin Towers to Pakistan. At least that's where the world's media was assembling, because the war of words between the Bush administration and the Taliban was escalating. And so the international media gathered in Pakistan. I was there. There were about 3,000 journalists, and I felt that the real story was over the border in Afghanistan, talking to ordinary people. Because, you know, the ordinary people are the grassroots people. They're the ones who would be affected ultimately by any decision by the White House. And unfortunately, the Taliban had refused to let me into the country as a Western journalist. They refused me 3 different visa applications. And in the end, I just thought, to hell with it, I'm going in. And recklessly or not, a wise decision or not, I don't know, I put on a burqa and went undercover with 2 guides, Pakistan and an Afghan guide, and we went in through the border with Pakistan. And I was able to do my report. I was there for 2 days, and as I headed back towards the Pakistan border, I was captured. And the rest is history. It was an eye-opening experience, those 2 days I spent in Afghanistan, because first of all I discovered that the Afghan women, far from being these shy, retiring creatures who hide under the burqa, were in fact extremely strong, resilient, opinionated, feisty, almost aggressive, and they did not fit into the stereotype that was being painted. The poverty was grinding, you know, it hit you immediately. This was a country that had had 2 decades of war, strife, had gone through a period of 5 years of drought and famine. So the poverty was there to see. And I also discovered that because of this poverty, that schools had closed down, not just for girls, but for the boys as well. And of course we were told that the Taliban did not want women to be educated. The reality was the Taliban did close down schools, but so did the Northern Alliance in the north of Afghanistan, because they were faced with the same problems. And when you've got a country at war, a country that is on its knees financially, that is in the middle of drought, that is gripped by famine, education, sadly, is not a priority. And that is why a lot of these schools had closed down, and why young women as well as the men were not being educated. But also it's a cultural thing. Sadly, in that part of the region, education is not seen as a priority for young girls, which of course is not Islamic at all. It's a cultural issue. And even then, I wasn't able to distinguish between Islam and culture, so I just thought it must be an Islamic reason. But I also found the Afghan people to have a wonderful hospitality, very kind, and really amazing people. Well, when I was captured by the Taliban, I mean, they were all scary looking men, great big black turbans, great big beards, and we didn't communicate, and because of the language difficulties, and that in itself was intimidating because I hadn't a clue what they were saying, and the Pashto language is very aggressive, very abrupt, so even if they were saying something nice, it sounded frightening. But I was amazed at how gentle they were. I had bought into the propaganda that this was the most evil, brutal regime in the world. They were the very words used by George Bush and Tony Blair to describe the Taliban. Furthermore, we were told they hated women. So I really didn't expect to survive even 24 hours. I thought that they would have executed me. They suspected me of being an American spy. And it was a time of war, and treason is, usually gets the death penalty in any country, and it certainly was something that the Taliban were known for. They shot their spies, so I really didn't think that I would survive, but instead I was confronted with Taliban who acted in a very kind and respectful way to me. Now, because I'd bought into all of this propaganda, I assumed that this was an act and that it was just a pretense, and that they were just pretending to be nice and pretending to be respectful. And so I adopted my own strategy, which some people might think was quite risky. I decided these people are going to kill me. Whatever happens, they are going to kill me. So why should I be nice to them? And so I decided that I would be rude, aggressive, obnoxious. I spat at them, I swore at them, I cursed them, I refused to eat their food. I was the prisoner from hell. And you would have thought that the most evil, brutal regime in the world would have reacted in a similar fashion. But the harder I pushed them, the kinder they were to me. And I thought, what's going on here? What don't they understand about evil, brutal regime? But in fact, they kept saying through a translator or in broken English themselves, you are our sister, you are our guest, we want you to be happy. And I thought, what's going on here? I really couldn't understand it. And I thought, as nice as they were, right up until the point that they released me, I thought that this is a trick. And it was only when they said you are free to go, and I walked across no man's land to the Pakistan military, it was only at that point that I realised, you know what? They were honourable and they were respectful and they did keep their word. Of course, it was too late to go running back and say, hey guys, I'm really sorry. And nor did I want to. But it was, I felt that this is something that I have to tell the truth about when I am taken back to London. And I did. Of course, it wasn't a story that the media wanted to hear because the war had started by then, and you can't drop bombs on nice people. So nobody was interested in hearing about the Taliban.